And welcome back. We are now at part 6, 5 here, 6th of this week's New Comics but CHES. So I'm going to go into more detail about the indies, and then I'm just going to kind of breeze over these two and really kind of get to my picks of the week. Maybe. We'll see. But okay, we've got Kevin Smith's The Bionic Man, number 8. Terrific issue. I love Jonathan Lau's art. And we've got basically, that Steve Austin knows that he basically has a fail-safe switch that they can turn him off if they're not, and they can completely and totally basically kill who Steve Austin is. I don't know if they can kill the brain, I don't know if they can kill the body, but they can kill the brain. They can completely shut him off if he doesn't do it. They tell him. So that has changed things with him and OSI. And then we have, of course, Steve going to confront Hull for the very first time, and his League of Bionics. And of course, what's going on here, what they're looking to do, what Hull, of course, is looking to do is he is looking to create, he's looking to cull humanity and basically bring out an entire new race of bionics. And, he's willing to stop at nothing to do that. And what Kevin Smith has done here is create a very unique way, very smart way of doing these, of doing all of these things. So, and also that has to, props to Phil Hester too for co-scripting it. And again, Jonathan Lau's artwork is just so beautiful. So this was really, really good. Very solid 4, leaning towards more 4.5 out of 5. Hellraiser Annual, number 1. We've got 2 stories within, and they're written by the kind of co-writers of this book. We've got, we've got one tale where, it's, one man. It's the one that's written by Barker himself. Reads a lot like one of his short stories, and it just happens to involve the Cenobites and going to hell. And one of them is about the return of Frank Cotton, who was, the victim in one of the first films, and his perhaps deal with the now non-hellbound Elliot Spencer, the now non-Pinhead, and where his place in the world, where these two have a place in the world, and their confrontation, their squaring off with each other. Really quite well done. Art's a little iffy, but the art has always kind of been iffy with this series, as far as, but it's not traditional artwork. This, everything that goes on here is kind of hellish, and the second part this all does tie very well to the ongoing series. So it's not just these kind of one-offs. The first story that's by Clive Barker and Mark Millar, not Mark Millar, but Mark Millar, that was written by them, that is, I would say, definitely a one-off, but it's a fascinating story. That one, the first story has more of a 4.5 out of 5. Second story, it's a little on the weak side. It gets a little bit too talky. Doesn't have enough kind of the element of threat to it. So I'm going to call that one a 3.5 out of 5. So we're going to average it out, and we're going to say the whole thing is a 4 out of 5. So on to books of the week. And we're going to start with the other big number 1 of this week. That is America's Got Powers, number 1, by Jonathan Ross and art by Brian Hitch. Now, I'm not familiar with who Jonathan Ross is. I've never read anything by him before, and if it's my understanding, he actually is some kind of he actually is kind of a reality host or something. I have no idea. I honestly have no idea who this guy is. I heard some. Maybe it's just something I thought I heard or dreamed. I don't know. I've been having really realistic dreams lately. So, anyway, but I've never read anything by him before. But of course, Brian Hitch, basically the man who is kind of famous for bringing widescreen action back to comics in full, glorious, really detailed form. And basically what we have here is that some time ago in San Francisco, we've got, 17 years ago in San Francisco, the Crystal happened. And its light shone bright, and every pregnant woman in a 5-mile radius gave birth. The babies were all healthy, they all survived, and they all had powers. And now they go on TV to show their powers, and some of them die. They basically are put into an arena to kill each other on basically America's Got Powers. Sounds familiar. The TV show, America's Got Powers. I wonder what it's about. Is it maybe a reality show where contestants square off against each other? This is obviously taking, we have, like I said, everybody got powers except for one person. And that was young Tommy Watts, whose twin brother, Bobby, was killed the year prior in the kind of finale of the season of America's Got Powers. And, nobody cares about what this is actually doing to the people that have the powers. And, of course, what we have here is we have this, in this kind of young misfit character of Tommy Watts, we've got, that he just kind of works at the Coliseum where the America's Got Powers contest takes place. And basically what we've got here is we've got the doctor who's been in charge of kind of helping to develop and research what's happened to these people. And then we have the military who wants to essentially kind of bring on board they basically want to bring these powered kids on board. And we have the game actually beginning where they all have to kind of square off, not against each other, but against the base defenders called the Paladins, which are essentially robots that are kind of designed, and if and there's this one character called the Quarterback, which is, quote unquote, he's like the best of them, but of course, he's a big asshole. And then you've got the, the hosts, and, their absolute fucking glee at, how violent this is, how brutal it is, and basically, these paladins are, designed to be, they're designed to stop all of them. And if you lose, you go back to the camps. Now, it doesn't really explain what the camps are, but they want to take the show off the air. This is basically, this show is supposed to be essentially the final show, where they're going to essentially either they're basically going to kill or destroy or wipe out or just basically do some really awful shit to all of the remaining cast members. And once it gets down to where it needs to be, well, this is, I don't know if it's the last show, but it's the last season. And we have basically a robot that's that causes one of the powered kids to break through into the safe zone, but the paladins have been allowed to go into the safe zone by basically the military that's kind of running the show here. They've removed all of the rules. They've removed all of the safeguards. Everybody's fair game. And Tommy has to come to the rescue of this little kid, but Tommy's got no powers, right? And that's ultimately what the book comes down to, is that it is, you know, one young man whose power level is at 0, but all of a sudden turns something on within himself. And, you know, this is a very popular way to go down the road for heroes, in the sense that they are something that, the kind of diamond in the rough type of idea, where, well, they don't know what's in them until it can somehow be allowed to come out of them, or not allowed to come out of them, that something has to force it out of them. And, well, that may be the case here, and it may not, but more than likely, Tommy didn't know that he had these abilities. And all of a sudden, he is now a favorite to win this final season of America's Got Powers. I don't know exactly how long this book is supposed to be, as far as on a weekly, as far as on monthly basis. If this is just going to be a limited series, or whether it's going to be something that does continue for quite some time. This is I'm sorry, it says 1 of 6. I guess I just gotta read the first page, the very first fucking cover, no. But I was totally blown away by this. Very much, Jonathan Ross, there's not a whole lot of original ideas here at work, but they're very well, the book itself is very well constructed. It's very well plotted. It's very well written as far as what they have to do with it. Like I said, it's not terribly original, but that's okay, because we have Brian Hitch really stealing the show here. I mean, this is fantastic work. I mean, as far as artists are concerned, as far as artwork is concerned, this is definitely one that you have to, that you have to take it in. For $2.99, I mean, this is a hefty fucking book, man. I mean, there are some beautiful layouts, beautiful pages, beautiful panels. It's just ingeniously constructed, and just the amount of the attention to detail that Hitch can give in every single panel is breathtaking. And so, I mean, even if Ross didn't really write this very well, this would be a 4.5 out of 5. So therefore, Hitch's art puts it at 4.5 out of 5, and Ross puts it ultimately over the top as a clear 5 out of 5. So we're going to be back. We still have more comics to talk about. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back with part 7. I don't think I've done a 7-parter before. So really, stay tuned. It just gets better. But this will be the final one. So part 7, I swear to God, it's going to be the last one.